I regret watching both parts of number one on the call sheet back to back. If you haven't heard, Number One on the Call Sheet is a new two-part documentary produced by Jamie Foxx and Kevin Hart. It is now streaming on Apple TV Plus. It is centered on the experiences of Black actors in Hollywood. Part one focuses on Black men in Hollywood, and part two focuses on Black women in Hollywood. Let me begin by just saying this documentary is absolutely exquisite. It is fantastic, especially for someone like me who loves TV and film the way that I do. But I still regret watching both parts back to back, and let me tell you why. Part one of Number One on the Call Sheet focuses on Black men in Hollywood and their experiences in Hollywood. It features the Denzel Washington, Lawrence Fishburne, Morgan Freeman. Then you have the Jamie Foxxes and the Kevin Harts and the Daniel Kaluyas and Will Smith, Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy literally had me in here hollering out loud, laughing at him, especially when he shares his story about his advice from James Brown. Absolutely fantastic. It felt like a celebration. These gentlemen were talking about how they were inspired by each other or saluting each other for their incredible work on screen or watching their rise in Hollywood. You know, the only time it really got me in my feels was when they took the moment to talk about Chadwick Boseman and what he brought to Hollywood. And, you know, with his passing, it still hurts. It's very fresh for a lot of us. So that was the only time that I really kind of got in my feels, but for the most part, it was like a huge celebration of these beautiful and amazing Black men in Hollywood and their experiences and so on and so forth. Well, then I got to part two, Black women in Hollywood. Number one on the call sheet for Black women. And the shift and the contrast between the two parts of the documentary was jarring because part one felt like a celebration and part two of the documentary felt like a struggle. And it was so disheartening to see how Black women in Hollywood are still fighting and scratching and surviving just to get what they deserve in Hollywood. Like, the thing that really got me, like, I was crying on part two. Part one, I'm kikiing and laughing out loud. Like, people are wondering what I'm up here watching. Part two, I was in here wiping tears. I wanted to do this review yesterday, but I was so emotional that I was like, yeah, maybe I better wait until tomorrow because I didn't want to get on camera and start crying on camera. First of all, just the little minute things like have just the struggle of finding someone who can do their hair properly on the sets of these films. Vivica Foxx talked about when she was in Independence Day, how the white hairstylist insisted on her having like this brown hair with blonde highlights to the point where she darn near burned Vivica's hair out of her head. They also talked about how when there was time to audition for a role, Black women were usually just given the role always like second class, never lead. You know, you have to really fight to become a lead actress as a Black actress in Hollywood. It was typically you're going to be the friend of the white lead, you know, the non-intrusive Black friend, or if there was a role intended for a Black actress, they all said that the description was sassy Black actress. My girl, Octavia Spencer, said most of her beginning of her career, she was nurse one, nurse two, nurse three, nurse this, nurse that, nurse. She even got killed as a nurse in some horror flick. Just listening to the struggle of these incredibly talented Black actresses was so disheartening. To be reminded that Halle Berry is still the only Black actress to receive an Oscar for lead actress to this day is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. We are talking about Viola Davis's. We are talking about Angela Bassett's, Taraji P. Henson's. We are talking about Gabrielle Union's, like people who have put in the work for years and years and years. And it's like these Black women are still being given crumbs in Hollywood. They also talked about, you know, the period of time where we started creating our own films and putting Black actresses in their own spaces to be able to shine. But at the end of the day, completely different experience for a Black actress in Hollywood than a Black male actor in Hollywood. I implore you, go watch this documentary. It is so eye-opening. It's a celebration of their talent, but it is also a harsh reality check. One part, the guy asked Denzel, he was like, yeah, so you number one on the call sheet. Denzel was like, well, am I number one on the salary sheet? Am I number one on the pay sheet? Just go watch it. Just go watch it. It is now streaming on Apple TV Plus. After watching, come back, drop down in the comments, let me know your thoughts on this documentary. But I'm telling you, buckle up, get your mind, soul, and heart right for part two, because it is a travesty to see how these amazing Black actresses still have to fight for their piece of the pie when they deserve the whole bakery. All right, have a great day.